look, back to something more substantive on the program. We have for weeks here at the platform been trying to get any minister of the Crown, and we've gone through a few of them, but fundamentally we settled down with Matt Ducey, Minister of Mental Health, and Shane Retty, Minister of Health. We were after a very simple answer to a question. A few weeks ago, Britain banned the use of puberty blockers to treat kids who were feeling a bit tomboyish. Basically, the idea that you would send young people uncertain about their sexuality or gender identification, that you'd slap them on puberty blockers and send them down on a path to surgical intervention. And Britain decided, after quite some controversy, that was a very poor practice. So puberty blockers for teenagers banned in Britain, and that seems to be a trend around the Western world. But our government just absolutely silent on it, and has been for weeks. Still is. And now we had the WPath files, which were a kind of a data dump of some pretty damaging information about the lobbying and efficacy around gender reassignment surgeries. And now we have a thing called the Cass report, which equally says we have to stop the ship of the Titanic that is politically correct gender reassignment before it hits the iceberg of the real world and the terrible consequences for young people who are thrown on the altar of this politically correct trend. And I thought we needed to find out more about this. We need to have a conversation. And if the government won't front, which they clearly won't, I thought let's go to a group that does follow these things, and that group is Family First. They are a conservative lobby group. I think it would be fair to say their most prominent spokesperson is Bob Mcroskrie, and he joins us by video link now. I think he does. He's not up on my screen, Ben, but I don't know what's happened there. But he's up on that screen. Bob, lovely to have you with us. Welcome.
Yep, good to be with you, Sean.
All right. Can you tell me, firstly, this Cass report, what is it? Is this a private report or an official report?
Okay, well, officially, it is paediatrician Dr. Hilary Cass, and 4 years ago she was commissioned by the NHS to basically look into the treatment of kids with gender dysphoria and other comorbid disorders, so other mental health issues, emotional issues, and she is actually the former president of the Royal College of Paediatrics and Child Health. So I think she was sort of...
So commissioned by the NHS, this isn't a fringe group.
Yeah.
This is an official government inquiry, essentially.
Oh, this isn't a bunch of activists like PATHA or WPath. This is a proper scientific, medical, biological investigation into what is best for children, something that PATHA, and we've talked about PATHA previously, they're based primarily at the Waikato University Trans Health Unit. They're a bunch of activists, and they align with WPath, which has now been fully discredited. So you stole my term, actually, Sean. You said the Titanic. I mean, that's exactly how I see it. It has been a juggernaut. Nobody's been able to challenge this ideology because, in theory, they've made these huge claims, and we really haven't been able to push back because we haven't had a lot of evidence. Over the last couple of months, the Titanic is finally turning. It's going to take a little bit of turning because it's a big ship, but it is turning, and we've reached the tipping point. But
what does the Cass report say? What does it say about these treatments, the way these policies have been implemented by the NHS?
Okay, and the key thing to note is that this isn't a quick report. A Labour Party, meeting to kind of allay fears. This was a 4-year investigation. And so the report's been released. If you've got nothing to do this weekend, 388 pages, I think it is. So that'll give you something to do. But look, here's just some key points. The report says that puberty blockers should no longer be prescribed to children except in the context of research. And I have heard one or two media interviews. It's been very sparse. I haven't seen much in the written media. And every specialist that they've got on has muddied the water by talking about precocious puberty. Now, that's a totally different issue to someone who wants to change their sex. Precocious puberty is a child that goes through puberty earlier, and medically their puberty is delayed to the natural time. So that's a totally different issue. Nobody's wanting to ban that. Secondly, cross-sex hormones. So that's basically testosterone for girls, estrogen for boys. The report says could be given to 16 and 17-year-olds, but extremely cautious. And basically they recommend waiting until they're 18. So, better informed consent, that they know what path they're going down. And it says waiting would preserve fertility and manage any other conditions, because the effect of this medication is that girls do lose their fertility. The report also warns that children who are referred to gender services present with, get this, Sean, high rates of abuse and neglect, including sexual abuse and parental substance abuse. And it also talks about neurodiverse, autism. In other words, it's saying, in the same way that we deal with anorexia nervosa, where the girl is thinking I'm fat, but physically she's very skinny.
Yeah.
Basically what we're saying is, rather than cutting the body or chemicalizing the body, heal the mind.
Yeah, and you don't give an anorexic liposuction, do you?
No, and weight loss pills, and exactly right. And tell them, you're fat as. No, we don't do that. One other really important point I think that the report makes is that clinicians have become fearful. The available evidence is poor, and Cass actually tried to conduct a study into the outcomes of 9,000 children. 9,000. And she was actually stonewalled by the gender clinics. They don't want to follow up what's actually happening, because I think they're going down this path, but they're embarrassed by the outcome. And I mean, that's a damning indictment on gender clinics, that they're not willing to, give follow up. And 9,000 children, that would have taken a lot of time, but that would have given some very good outcomes. And just this quote, I think, is important. Medical professionals experienced a sense of fear of being called transphobic if you take a more cautious approach. Others were worried that they might be accused by Chanel Lal of conducting conversion therapy if, again, they take a cautious or exploratory approach. Of course, that's the exact red flag that we put up when the conversion therapy law was being put through, is that it will have a chilling effect on people who care for children who are struggling in this area, not only professionals but parents, because basically if you discourage a child, if you affirm your son as a boy and your daughter as a girl, you could be guilty of committing conversion therapy, and you could be in jail from anything from 2 to 5 years. That's how ridiculous the conversion therapy law. And Cass has actually told the UK government that's currently considering a conversion therapy law that they'd be stupid to pass one now based on this evidence.